All right, what's up, YouTube? This is Boxaway. I just finished watching the fight. Actually, just paused it right at the stoppage. Okay, wanted to talk about this fight. Um, I thought the stoppage was legit. All right, I thought it was legit. John was definitely hurt. If you look at his legs, he was kind of out on his feet. Obviously his eye was hurt. He turned around. You can't do that. Okay. That happened to Tony Harrison when he turned around against Willie Nelson. You just can't do that. All right. He was hurt. And then Charlo didn't hit him again while he was turning. Okay, and he kind of leaned against the ropes, like his head was in between the ropes, and he was leaning over. So he definitely was a little out at the time. I mean, at the end, it looked like he was okay, but you can't do that. I thought the stoppage was legit, in my opinion. Okay. Key things about the fight. I thought Charlo was clearly losing the fight. All right. I thought John was doing very well boxing. I don't think Charlo expected that. I don't think his camp expected that. Okay. I wasn't expecting it. John has power. He's usually the aggressor in his fights if you've seen him fight before. And this fight, he chose to box, use his legs, and counter punch and set traps. I never seen him, I've seen him fight a few times. I never seen him fight exactly this way. Okay. Now, from I've been watching both of the Charlos fight for a long time. And, Jamel is with a new camp. He's training with Errol Spence trainer. Okay, he's not with Ronnie Shields anymore, right? A lot of people think he's still there. I know I said recently in a video by accident, but I knew that Jamel left Ronnie Shields when he fought Alcine, okay? From what I'm seeing, he's trying to learn to sit down his punches, have a little bit more power in his punches and stuff like that, which is cool. Which is cool because up to this point, like guys like Vanes Martirosyan and what's his name, Gabe Rosado didn't really respect his power. They were aggressors and everything. But this is the first time I seen Charlo somewhat getting outboxed. He was getting outboxed, not even somewhat. The only other fight I saw Jamel getting kind of roughly outboxed at some points of the fight was the Demetrius Hopkins fight from back in the day. All right, but John was definitely outboxing him. I had John winning the first 4 rounds. I didn't think Jamel won a round until the 5th round when he landed that left hook. Okay, and then the rounds after that was kind of close, and then we had the stoppage in the 8th round. This is it's weird because I know what Jamel is doing, and it is going to take time for him to fight this new way. Okay, but if he's going to be an aggressor, walking forward type of fighter, all right, he definitely needs to know how to cut off the ring. I think he needs to slow down a little bit when he's coming forward. Okay, instead of chasing, he needs to stalk instead of just chasing after John. And I think he's developing a little bit. I think the Alcine was a little bit easier for him to look impressive because Alcine is not as good as John Jackson, in my opinion, especially because Alcine is a little older. But with what Charlo's doing, I'm glad he's doing it in fights like this where John Jackson is a very good fighter, but he's not fighting Julian Williams or Demetrius Andrade or something like that. These fights he's developing, and it's good because I'm sure he hears what people are saying about Jamal having the power. A lot of people like Jamal better, and because he is knocking guys out. Even though Jamel fought the better fighters, Jamal's the one that's knocking guys out, and he's learning to sit down on his punches. But if you're gonna come forward, stalk instead of chasing. He's giving chase to John. John is using his legs, circling him all around and setting traps. And he's throwing combinations, going to the body and getting out of the way before Charlo is able to counter or react. All right. Jamel needs to find a way to mix it up a little bit where he's going back to being more of a counterer and using his jab because his jab is one of his best advantages. He has both of the Charlos have very good jab. He needs to find a neutral zone where he can be aggressive, but at the same time, he's not forcing the power shots and trying to land just one big shot. It worked for him in this fight, but if the fight had to go to decision, I thought it would have been a clear win. Up to this point, I thought it would have been a clear win for John Jackson because Jamel was just trying to land one big shot. And it worked for him this fight. I understand it worked. He got 2 knockouts in a row now. since he fought Martirosyan, and that's good. But it's not gonna always work out that way. And if he had fought a different opponent, the outcome could have been different. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I think he has to find some type of middle ground to where he's still being able to outbox his opponents instead of just forcing and lunging. He was lunging a lot. I want him to see him go back to his jab. Just like Paulie was saying, he should start throwing some feints in there. Do something else instead of just walking forward and throwing nothing but power shots, one shots, you know. John, on the other hand, I think John's biggest problem, I mean, he really was doing well. The only thing is too, on the other hand, with him, he was pop shotting a lot, and it was working. Listen, and he was winning rounds, but he wasn't really throwing nothing hard enough to hurt Jermell, and Jermell didn't really respect John's power, and John has power. I mean, he's a son of Julian Jackson. He has power, but he wasn't really showing it in this fight because he was pop shotting, and it enabled Jermell to just keep coming forward, figuring out, and finally land a good shot. And you know, they stopped the fight. So Jermell, he's still he's still learning this new style, this new way of being aggressive. But he needs to slow it down. If he's gonna come forward, just don't give chase. Where you're trying to sit down on your punches, but when you do and you throw something, you're lunging and you're telegraphing your punches. I think he needs to slow it down like he did in like the sixth, seventh round, maybe, where he was chasing him, but he slowed it down, like, you know, just slowly just stalk John, like instead of just, and he was doing it, but in the earlier rounds, he was just chasing him, and just winging and throwing wide, wild shots instead of just sitting down on it, but like slowly stalk him. Because if you slowly stalk John, he's not going to move as quickly. He's not going to do as much as he did. And that's what, from what I'm seeing, that's what I thought. Because I'm just critiquing. He won the fight. We already know he won. But I'm just critiquing him because he's fighting totally different now. And it's good that, you know, he's getting his knockouts and people are respecting him as, all right, he has power, you know, because he's saying, I've heard him say, like, I can do what my brother is doing. You know, I could be that way too. And when he fought Alcine, they were saying that, he said in interviews that he wants to show people that he can have power. And this is why he left Ronnie Shields. And that's cool. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it correctly. And in these fights, he had success. But if you fight a top guy up at 154, and you guys see my top 10, if he fights one of these top 10 guys like that, it might not be so good. Like if he fought Vanes Martirosyan in this new way that he's fighting, it might have not worked because Martirosyan has been fighting that way aggressively all his career. Whereas Charlo, he's just starting to do it. You know, he's starting to learn, and it's working out for him. But he got to find a way to mix it up and slow it down a bit and throw, you know, feint a little bit. You know, go to the body a little bit. You know, just give different looks instead of just coming forward and telegraphing your punches and just throwing big one haymaker shots like that, like he was doing tonight. I mean, it worked out. And I thought the stoppage was definitely legit because you can't get hit and just turn your back. You can't do it, okay? And plus and Tony Weeks still allowed him to hit him a couple times after he turned around, all right? But John was out, you know, and once your head is through the ropes like that, you got to stop the fight. It is what it is. All right, good win for Charlo. You know, John is always going to be it's been really tough with him and his brother because him and his brother both took losses recently. And I know he really wanted to win this fight because Charlo, you know, said that he was even better than his father. So, I mean, but, you know, I mean, it is what it is. Charlo win. He's the WBC champ. And I'm going to watch the next fight with Jamal. I saw Lara and Martirosyan too already. So I'll do that video after I watch this Trout fight with Jamal real quick. I heard that fight. Not controversial, but I seen that a lot of people thought it was a draw. But I'm going to watch that fight now, and I'll put that video up when I'm done. But make sure y'all comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think. And see you guys on the next one, all right? Peace.